right. I don't know. How are these things supposed to start? I don't even know. We're going to pick up where I'm not going to say it. Don't let me say it. We're going to do some more stuff. We're going to keep on keeping on. So we'll get at it. That's all I'm going to say. We'll get at it. So we left off with just 29 episodes being rendered inside of an episode list component that we created inside of our EUI page template. So we actually want to do some things with that now. So we're going to focus on building our episode, like our single episode component. So in our project, in our editor, we're going to create a new file in source home. We're going to call this single episode.tsx, and we're going to export a const called single episode react.fc, and that's going to be basically just that right there is a good place to start. So we'll just return a single div with an h1 that says single episode. We'll save that. And then we're going to go import this component into our episode list. So open up your episode list file. And up here at the top, we will import single episode from single episode. And then down here, instead of this h1 now, we're actually going to put a map function in here. So, but I want these things to be inside of a flex group. So I'm going to replace this with an EUI flex group, which I'll actually import first, I think. So up here on line 1, I'm going to import the things I need. So I need an EUI flex group. I need an EUI flex item. That's probably fine for now, actually. And then that's going to come from Elastic EUI. I'll put some spaces in here for good measure. And then we will iterate over this. So GitHub Copilot to the rescue. So essentially what I want is this. I want a flex group that's going to map over my episodes. I'm just going to accept this and we can look at that with full syntax highlighting. So I have a flex group that's a column, I guess. Let's just delete all this stuff though. I don't want that in there. So we have an episode, or we have a flex group that maps over our episodes gives us a flex item with a key. React always expects a key on those repeatable items. Helps with rendering. And then it takes the episode ID as the key, and then it renders a single episode with an episode prop. Right now this is giving us an error because we don't actually have that prop on our single episode, so I will delete that so we can at least just see this in the browser. So now you'll see that we just have a big long list of things that say single episode, and that's not what we want, right? So if we come into our single episode file, we can start making that change. I don't know what I did. So we're going to import, or not import, sorry. We're going to define an interface called iSingleEpisode, or I leave off my typing, episode props. I want my curly brace back. And this is going to take a single episode, and it'll be equal to the episode, or it'll be of the type episode that we defined in that data file, which we can import. Import episode from ./data, and then we're going to call that iSingleEpisodeProps, and then we'll deconstruct the episode as we pass it in. And then instead of saying single episode here, we will say episode.title. And we know what's on these things because if we look at our data file, we can see we have an ID, a season number, an episode number, a title, which we'll use here, image, year, release, yada, 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 right? So coming back over here now, we have this episode title. When we save this, our home file, or our episode list file is going to start complaining again, because now it does expect that episode to be there, but it's not. So we'll go ahead and put it back. So we have this single episode, specifies the episode that we're mapping through, right? And we'll save that and take a look at it in the browser. And there we go. Now we have a list of all of our episodes with their titles, and that's pretty ugly. So let's dress it up. We'll head back over to single episode. We'll replace this div with an EUI panel, and we'll need to import the panel, obviously. So we're going to import. Let's figure out what we want to import. We're going to need an EUI panel. We're going to need an EUI. Actually, no, we don't want a panel. We want a card, EUI card, and an EUI button. And I think that's really all we need, actually, from Elastic EUI. So we'll replace panel with card. EUI card. And oh, this isn't how a card works, so this is good. Let's talk about this. So an EUI card takes a title, which will be an episode title, and that's exactly what we want. We want an image with the episode image, a description, it'll be the episode plot, a footer, that'll be a React node. Man, GitHub Copilot is really the best thing, I think, to happen to me in a long time. But our button does not need an href on it, so we will get rid of that. And our button, we want to say details, I think. Well, now when we save this, we're going to have a much better looking thing. And there we go. Look at that. We have this massive single row of episodes. So let's make a couple of changes to this layout so that things start to look and feel a little bit better. The first thing we want to do is we want to set some kind of a width on these cards themselves, and then we want to address the length of the description, and we want to set the parent UI Flex group to wrap. So let's start with our width. We'll do this the way we did before. We're going to define const of styles, and then we'll just say card, and we will set this to a width of, I don't know, like 25 rems. And then down here on our EUI card, we will call it just like that, style equals styles.card. And now when we save this, this is going to be like an actual manageable width, right? Something that looks a little better. And now all we really have to do is inside of our episode list, take this flex group and change this to wrap. And what'll happen now is those things will wrap appropriately, right? And that's looking pretty good. Oh, there is a couple of other things we need to do. So we don't actually want these flex items to grow. So we'll set grow equals false on these things. And you see it the most down here, right? Like these are two equally spaced items, but the content is smaller than the flex item is wide. So if we set grow equals false on this, those things will kind of tuck up next to each other and be better aligned. We're not going to worry about this weird space over here because whatever. I think most people can hack their way around CSS to get that stuff fixed. But what we do want to do is we want to shrink down the description length so that it's not so long. So I think we're going to set it to something like, I don't know, maybe 80 characters. So inside of our single episode, we're just going to use a simple JavaScript slice function for this. So at the end of plot, we're going to write slice. We're going to tell it the index number to start at, and then how many characters we want to slice off of it. So by doing that, we're going to limit our text to about 80 characters. And now what we have is a very manageable list of things that are very poorly truncated. And there's probably a much better way to truncate this stuff with EUI, honestly. And maybe I'll figure that out and, I don't know, update this video later. But either way, I think that's a pretty good place to start. And it's also a pretty good place for us to stop. So before we go, let's do our quick little wrap up. When we came in, we just had a count of episodes, and we started creating this single episode component. So starting up here way up at the top, we've imported an EUI card and an EUI button. We defined an interface that uses that episode type from the data file. And then we have defined our constant for single episode. We defined some styles for the card itself. Our card takes a title, an image, a description, and then it's got a footer node for the button. And that's pretty cool. When we come back, what we'll start working on is actually making that button work as a flyout. So it'll open a flyout, and in that flyout, we'll see all of the episode content that we want to see. So until next time.